So these new Cloudbreaker 3s are pretty great. The rim feels nice and comfortable in your hand, the plastic feels nice, and they fly really well. But they could be holding your game back. Let's talk about it. So first things first, these new discs are great. This rim feels nice and comfortable. It's not as wide as, say, a Destroyer, or not as deep as a Destroyer, so it feels a little bit more comfortable in your hand. The rim is shallower, so it's better for forehands. So not only is the rim thinner and shallower than the Destroyer, but it's really weird. So the diameter is actually like a millimeter or two wider than the Destroyers. So there's a wider disc. The plastic feels pretty good. It's pretty soft. The only thing I would say is that when I took it out I was throwing in like 30-degree weather, this got rock solid, like absolute brick. So if you want to hear, you can, this one's more malleable in this cold, and this one's like, feels like a brick. And when you throw it, it's kind of flies like a slightly understable Destroyer, which is great. That's a bomber. The only thing is, if you have an arm speed close to mine or less than mine, I don't think this is the best disc. Hear me out. So I'm about a 930 rated player, and I usually throw about like 375, 365 regularly, consistently. So when I throw this, it does different things for me. And it's not the disc at all. Let me get that straight. I just said before, this is a great disc, but when I throw it, sometimes it's overstable, doesn't turn for me at all. Sometimes it gives me a nice turn and a fade at the end. And why is that? Because I don't have the arm speed to make this thing fly the way it's intended to fly. So sometimes it's overstable, sometimes it's not. And that's just because I'm not getting the proper arm speed behind it, but also the proper nose angle consistency for it. So I would say if you're not throwing over 400 feet consistently, or even like 420, 425 consistently, then this might not be the best disc for you. Now, why would I say this is holding you back? A lot of people, they see these drivers for the top pros throw, and I did so myself. I threw, for a very long time, I threw Destroyers in my bag. So I have like a couple Destroyers. These are the two Destroyers I compared them against when I went to go throw this. And I thought I could throw them, and I threw them well occasionally when I got that arm speed right. I got a good throw out of them, and I had the nose angle correct, and it flew properly. But I had to try really hard to throw it, and it wasn't super consistent. When I got a good rip on it, they flew well, but most of the time I didn't get a good rip on it. Now, how would this be holding you back? If you are wanting to be Eagle, and for me, I wanted to be Paul or any of the other top Innova pros who threw Destroyers. They're the best distance driver on the market, and that's true for pros, not for me. And so ever since I just swallowed my pride and I was like, okay, I can't throw Destroyers. I'm gonna take Destroyers out of my bag. And I went to something slower, more controllable, more suited for my arm speed. And that for me was the Innova Wraith. And as soon as I switched to the Innova Wraith, and those flew, like whenever I got a good rip out of my Destroyer, occasionally, that's how the Wraiths flew for me always, because they were better suited for my arm speed and the way I played the game. So ever since I swallowed my pride and switched to Wraiths, I started playing better disc golf. Why? Because those discs are better suited for my game than the Destroyers. Now, a Destroyer or these Cloudbreakers are probably great for people who can throw, like I said, 325 feet or more consistently. Again, if you can't throw these, a great suggestion would be a Wraith. Wraiths, if you're throwing high 300s, or even if you're throwing 400 feet, then Wraiths are amazing discs. They're so good, and you have so many different variations of the Wraith instability that I literally just throw. I have 5 Wraiths in my bag for distance drivers, and that's it. But then if it gets super windy, I do have some overstable destroyers that I put in the bag, but that's only if it's like 30 mph plus. Everything else my Wraiths can handle fine. But this wouldn't even cover that slot for me because my Wraiths are more overstable. My overstable Wraiths are more overstable than this. So this is not a win fighter for me compared to my other Wraiths. Now some might say, well, this thing just bombs for me. I throw it so much further than my other discs. I might not have control, so I just use it in an open field and I don't have to worry about my accuracy very well. To that, I would almost say go out to a field and test that, because it might be true. If you're just not have to worry about the accuracy, just pump it out there as far as you can, do it. But I would go to a field and test that, because I actually I did that. I thought about it. It's like, oh, I'll just pull the destroyers out for things that I just need to go a little bit further than my Wraiths, right? Well, I went to a field and I tested that, and I actually threw the Wraiths just as far as the destroyers. And I even was throwing my Wraiths just as far, if not further, than this Cloudbreaker 3. And that's not because this is a shorter disc than the Wraith. That's because I don't have the arm speed to get the full potential out of this disc. So like I said, the second I swallowed my pride, I got better because I started throwing discs that are more suitable to my arm speed. So I would challenge you to do the same. And that doesn't mean you can't appreciate great discs. This is a great disc. It's a wonderful disc. Eagle McMahon crushes it. It's amazing. And same with the Destroyer. The Destroyer is an amazing disc. Ricky destroys with them. Just that was bad. Wow. Ricky just shreds with Destroyers, but I can't throw them. And so I'm not going to throw them because I can play better with other discs that are better suited for my game. So don't hold your game back by thinking that you can throw discs that you can't. Trust me, once you swallow your pride, you will play a lot better with discs that are better for you, and you will enjoy it a lot better. And it's kind of cool just having some discs that you have that nobody else throws, and just like, well, I shred with this, and I will kick your butt with it. So yeah, you keep throwing your destroyers and I'll beat you with my Wraiths. It'll be fine. Anyways, that's my short little rant about the Cloudbreaker 3. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if I triggered you in some way. Yeah, let me know. Anyways, see you in the next one.